Hello and welcome to Cranky Gamers, the show where we take your normal everyday gamer, toss them into our unique grapple pit, and wrestle over our chosen subject. I'm your host, Dogg, and it's Cranky Gamers Unplugged this week. There's only two of us, so it should be quite interesting. So joining me this week, he's the crankiest gamer in the UK, and he's also a Derby County fan, so that probably doesn't help. Here's Toz.
Yes, great day today, back in the Premiership with a great result, and yeah, we'll have a good show without anybody else.
Yeah, rub it in, Premiership boy. Alright, well, you know who we are, and now it's time to carry on. Well, what we've been playing this week? Well, actually this week I've been playing a bit of Gears and a bit of Rainbow Six, and yes, I'm still playing Civilization 3. I'm still losing many hours of my life to that game. So, Toz, what have you been playing this week?
This week, again on the 360s, it's the only machine I've got, as we know. Picked up Lego Star Wars. Picked it up for my daughter, actually, but obviously, as we all know, anybody who's picked up Lego Star Wars gets drawn in to a little fantastic game, and I'm flying through that. Basically, turning into an achievement whore, I'm afraid, because I'm getting close to the big 5,000. So, flying through Star Wars. I have had a game on the DS that I'm probably not allowed to talk about yet, so I'll leave that a few weeks. But it's a really good game, and I should probably talk about it when it comes out. But yeah, I've been playing the DS as usual in fits and starts. But on the Xbox has been me Star Wars mainly, and a couple of rounds late night of Tiger Woods golf, as I normally do in the early hours. So yeah, that's about it this week.
If you're an achievement whore at bloody 5,000, what does that make me sitting up at 11?
I've noticed you're 11,000, and I'm tempted to query that score.
Well, hey, there's no stewards' inquiries here. You can't go to the FA. All right, moving on. Let's hit the news this week. Okay, first up in the news, all of those of you looking forward to the remake of Chronicles of Riddick. That's the new one, Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dark Athena. Well, unfortunately, that's been delayed beyond the fall of 2007, so no remake anytime soon, unfortunately.
Really? Are they still doing the not going to bother with making the old Xbox version compatible? Are they really sticking by that still?
I think they've done with the back compat. I'm not sure if they're actually doing any more back compats at all.
Well, to be honest, I actually check the back compatible a lot because I get most of my games from a swap site here in the UK. Worth checking out actually if there's some UK listeners. Swaps.co.uk with a Z on the swaps. Yeah, I virtually do all my games, so I actually been picking up a few old Xbox, so I've been checking the backwards compatibility regular, and they don't give any inkling on the actual Xbox.com website that they've stopped, because all I read in many places that everybody's crying out for the Chronicles of Riddick Xbox version to be done, but you know, I check back regular. I didn't know they'd stopped it. If that's the case, I'm surprised at that.
I think the stopping the back compat might have been a rumour. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that.
We'll have to check that up because
yeah, look into that.
It's quite surprising how good the old Xbox games are on the 360. I've been pleasantly surprised with a few.
As we've talked before about the Chronicles of Riddick, it is the best looking Xbox game that there was. Excellent game by Starbreeze, and I think they're also again handling the remake. And I think with the remake coming, there won't be a back compat for that game because it just doesn't make sense from a business point of view.
Yeah, you're right. Business, they're not going to make money, are they? I hope they do carry on the compatibility because, like I say, when I check it, there are a lot of really good games out there with some real good high review scores on GameSpot. I check on there; they've got a very good old review score section for the Xbox, and that's where I check how good the games are. I'm about to pick one up this week, actually. The old Rally Sport Challenge 1, that's compatible, and that gets a massive 92% score, that does, on GameSpot. And as people know, GameSpot aren't very good with their marks at times, so I'm quite looking forward to picking that up, actually.
Well, as the saying goes, GameSpot's tighter than a duck's bottom, and that's watertight.
Too right.
Well, and so there you go. No Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dark Athena this year, unfortunately. So, guess we'll just have to keep waiting for that one. Okay, our next story up. Those of you, those of you who remember back when the 360 was being launched, there was this little game rumoured called Huxley. which was I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way. It's an MMO FPS. Now, as far as I know, it's the second style of game that does that. The first one being PlanetSide for the PC. Well, unfortunately, that's also had a slight delay, which, well, not surprising as it's been around for a while. We're still waiting for it. But the good news is there's a possible beta on the way next year in 2008. Just having a look now to see where it is.
Talking of
middle of Q.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
It's in the middle of Q407, which will last until Q1 of 08, which will be a public beta, but that's just in the financial report, so
which is
that might go away, it might not.
Yeah, which they use the Financial Times quite dodgily, don't they, to make their books balance out in one way or another. But just coming back to beta subjects, I know it's slightly moving off your Huxley story, but just to go down this track, was any further news on my rant of COD4 last week, and any more news on their beta? Have they finally decided who's having it and who's not?
Well, they are still saying that it may roll out into other parts of the world.
No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. No, never in a million years. It's due out weeks, isn't it, in America?
No, yep, unfortunately.
Yeah, not going to happen. I just really think... And on that subject of things being delayed, might pick up on a bit of a story here to go with for a minute. All this after E3 with Microsoft giving the big trumpet call of all our releases coming out in 2007, got a bit of a point to raise here, where, as obviously listeners have probably heard, that a lot of games lately in the past week or so have actually been given the big drop, i.e. the massive one, which, to be quite honest, I'm not bothered about. Yeah, I know I might be the only one in the world, but GTA 4 being delayed till what I find amazingly to believe this time next year, which I was astounded to hear. Not so astounded as the delay, because I do believe that there were more delays from these lists anyway, because they just do it to get through E3, in my opinion. But as regarding that, one thing that really got my back up, listening to a few other podcasts, is that the reason basically that nobody wants to admit, and I've heard now as well that it's happened with another title, I can't think of that at the minute, but it's the same reason. And the reason being touted now is GTA 4's not being released this year purely because of the PS3 and it not being ready on that machine. Now, we all know it was signed and penned for a worldwide release date. That's how they go now. They want it out at the same time for such a big game. But I've heard this week, again, like this game has been delayed because they can't get it to work on the PS3. And still, if I'm correct, nobody has seen GTA 4 running on the PS3 yet. All the screenshots and movies so far have been on the 360 version. And like I say, I've heard of another title that has also been put back till next year. And there again, I think it's because it won't be available on the PS3 because it's not ready. Now, I don't know what you think, but what do you think about this delaying of GTA 4 because of the PS3? Now, to me, I've paid my money, I've got my Xbox, and I want a game release. It's not my fault it's not ready for the PS3. So what do you think about that one?
Well, I think it's further proof that the whole console war is as sometimes there's a bit of a con, unfortunately. You know, oh, this game can't come out on the 360 because it can't come out on the PS3 at the same time. Well, that's PlayStation's fault for making a console that's too hard to program for at the minute.
I've heard that.
They did it with the PS2.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot this week as well regarding this story about it's all right saying it's too hard to program for, but I tell you what I do think will happen, and to be honest, I'm actually glad that it's happened to such a big title, GTA 4, because I'm willing to bet now, any money you want, that come next year or 18 months away, do you know when they're penning the contracts for GTA 5, I'll have you a bet now that the gaming company will not sit there and say, oh yeah, we'll have a multi-release. What they will say is, it'll come out when you're ready. Because they have, I think this has absolutely been a killer. How much money and revenue do you think that they've spent already on advertising? I mean, it was weeks away, wasn't it, in America, supposedly?
I think it was towards the end of the year, Christmas time.
Well, all right, we're a few months away, but I'm astounded that we're talking that the date they've been throwing around now is next year, this time next year.
Well, if you know,
yeah,
well, if you know anything about business, you'll know that if you're going to release something, you have to get your marketing ready
yeah,
and your advertising ready. And like in magazines and that, it's months and months beforehand. So you can guarantee that half of the Grand Theft Auto 4 advertising machine is probably just sat there in a warehouse now,
well, it will be
spinning its wheels.
So
it's going to cost a lot of money there.
I've read that the advertising campaign had cost like millions of dollars. I think I've read somewhere, and the advertising department now is sat there absolutely pulling their hair out because it's been not only pulled but pulled for a long time. We're not talking weeks; we're talking months. And like I say, I just hate the fact that it's the PS3 causing it. I don't think it's right. I think that they should turn around and say, "Are you ready on the 360?" Well, yeah. Well, okay. We'll release it on the 360 then. We've spent our X amount of $1 million on the advertising. We'll go the 360 route. How fast do you think they'll get it out on the PS3 then?
They'll try and get it out the door as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm going to guess that somewhere in a contract signed, it was saying this has to come out on the same day or within a certain amount of time on either console.
Yeah,
something along
I
those
really
lines,
do. I know for a fact that it's contracted now without a shadow of a doubt because that's what's caused the delay. And I don't think there's no way getting out of these contracts, is there? Not without it costing you a lot of money. But like I say,
it'll cost you more money than it costs to make the game.
Probably so. But you wait until next year when they sign in for GTA 5.
Well, yes, indeed. That is something that we'll have to wait and see. So, Toz, you brought us two more news stories. So, what you got for us?
Yeah, story I've picked up on this week that's yet another moan, as usual. But the price drops that's just been recently announced by Microsoft for the Xbox 360. I'm still yet to find, I may be wrong, not checked up today, if we have been given a price drop announcement yet in the UK. Which, if I'm correct, we haven't. Which means at the minute, if we was to walk out in the street and buy our Xbox 360 Premium Pack, comparing to the USA, it would cost us around £100 more at this minute. Strangely enough, I've had one of my relations ring me last night asking me what a fair price to pay for a premium was. They was actually going to buy one yesterday. And I've actually put them off. I've said to wait because we are bound to get a price drop. And we also supposed to be getting the Elite for how much money that's going to cost. And I think, didn't you hear as well that the Elite may be having a 60 gig hard drive in the UK? Have you been able to confirm that?
I've heard that, and did look up, and according to Play.com, it is a 120 gig hard drive. So maybe a site got that wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. In fact, if you give me a second, I will give you right now the hardware prices for a 360 Premium.
Okay.
So if you just give me a second, I'll just chop all this gap out.
I will also, I might as well carry on to my second story then while you're checking that up. And the second story that's kept coming out of America this week, which has absolutely blown my mind completely, is that appearing on some shelves in the good old US is the Premier console with an HDMI connection. Now, have Microsoft gone completely loopy-loo round the bend? Haven't they not just announced yet another console with the Halo release? And how much advertising did they do for their superb Elite, which, I may add, we haven't even been released in our country yet? So how's that going to make our UK dealers in the shops feel now, knowing that already appearing is Premier consoles in the US, not only $50 cheaper, but also with an HDMI connection? Now, to me, that means we're paying probably $150 more for a black console, for a paint job. Microsoft really have got to take a step back and just have a look what they're doing. Because to me, at the minute, Microsoft they're absolutely nowhere with these connections and consoles. It just beggars belief that I actually thought it was a joke when somebody told me that the Premiers are coming out with HDMI connections. It just astounds me that they're doing it. For a long time I've thought, get rid of the core, keep the Premium. Okay, if you want some flashy extra like a Halo box with a few knobs and buttons on that are better, then do it. but the Xbox is crying out for one console with all connections and be just one box that everybody can go out and buy. Just like the others. There's no 5 different Wiis, there's no 10 different PS3s. Alright, there's the odd different size hard drive from the PS3, but the Xbox is a shambles. There is more different consoles and unnecessarily difficult. And while we're on the subject, will you please release the next Xbox with a wireless connection? Because for that not to have a wireless connection is another joke.
Well, it's just a case of Microsoft, instead of splitting the SKUs, more like shattering the SKUs. I mean, unfortunately, just go back to something you said before, actually, about the HDMI. You got to remember over here, we aren't as HD ready, so maybe it won't be as much as a problem, but I can see it definitely being a pain.
I actually had a conversation with one of our listeners in the week, and it was about HD, actually. And they actually told me that in the US of A, I asked them what percentage coverage was their HD TV connection, and I actually, silly thought, I don't know what you thought, but I would probably have hazarded a guess at around 70%. And I also said to him that here in the UK, we're probably not even up to 5% yet. We're way behind, as everybody knows. But I was quite surprised to say that he actually thinks off the top of his head that they're only about 15% covered in America, which quite surprised me. Especially with Microsoft and PlayStation really going out on the HD bandwagon so much. So whether that's accurate or not, I was very surprised at the low percentage.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Might be worth.
We should probably.
I would say might be worth checking out to get some figures on that, because the HD does seem to be being pushed by all consoles except Nintendo, of course. In fact, it's quite a big war, isn't it? If we be honest.
Oh yeah.
And as we know, the UK, the only thing decent in the UK at the minute are the HD TVs have come in way down in price. They've absolutely collapsed in price in the past 12 months. Still doesn't take from the fact that if you want HD TV itself, that you've got to pay for it, which is another subject. But yeah, I'm surprised at the HD and the way it's been made a mess of from Microsoft. We need one console, one connection. Or, I mean, where are the days gone where you used to get your games console with one wire and plug it into the good old aerial socket and away you went?
I think they disappeared in the days of the PS1. I think the last console that did that was the Nintendo 64.
It did, and did it suffer? I think not.
Nope.
I mean, I opened my Xbox. I'm actually a relatively new Xbox owner. My very first one is probably, I only got it in November, so I'm a bit of a noob. But when I opened the box, I just couldn't believe my eyes. There was cables and wires, and there was a whole 2 chapters in the instructions just on connections, and I still had no idea where I was going when I'd read it.
I have to say this, I have had many consoles over the years. I'm a gamer junkie, and I'll admit it. Now, when I got my 360, and I got my 360 about a week after it launched, that's how much of an early adopter I was. I pre-ordered 6 months in advance. Did you laugh when you saw the power brick?
Oh.
That thing made me roll.
It's still astounding today. I mean, in our house, I have to bow down to heir who must be obeyed. That's why I've been shuffled off to the little room, as I call it. As I obviously had my Xbox wired up to our main TV, my wife saw the brick on the floor and just took one look at me, and she didn't even have to speak. But I was astounded by it. I really was. And I still, to this day, can't understand why it needs it. I really can't.
I think this comes from the issues of the original Xbox having a faulty power supply actually inside it and causing fires, unfortunately.
Yes, I can remember that. My friend actually owned an Xbox, and he did have a recall, I can remember. They did have an actual console recall, didn't they, if I remember rightly?
They did, indeed.
Yeah. But still, just on the whole topic, Microsoft and the Xbox is just making it too complicated with too many things, unnecessarily so. They're just making things difficult for people. When all said and done, it's a games machine that the average man in the street doesn't want to know what connections it has, what I've got to buy, what he wants to get home. He wants to open the box, he wants to stick a cable in the back of his TV, and away he goes. But Microsoft, I think you could ask the average man in the street now, he wouldn't even know which machine to buy, let alone what cable and where to stick it. It's just, I would really like to speak to Microsoft's marketing department. I would. I really would. And just ask them who comes up with these wild ideas.
Well, you know it's getting to a bad point when even the hardcore gamers are going, well, hang on, which one do I blooming need? Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an hardcore gamer myself, and I still, to this day, don't fully understand the Xbox connections.
Yes, well, anyone who's interested, I was, up until my TV died, running just the connection that came in the box. And now I'm using a PC monitor, so I'm now using the VGA cable, which I do recommend using if you can. The VGA cable is very good.
I can vouch for that as well. I'm actually running the same. I've gone from SVHS, which is, by the way, the second best, I've been told, on a normal TV. If your TV does that, I've actually got an SVHS on the main TV and VGA, but VGA is really noticeable difference in quality.
Absolutely. I mean, I must point out that the monitor I'm using is not a new monitor either. I'd say it's about 3-4 years old, and it still looks amazing.
Is it the standard CRC normal PC monitor?
No, it's a LCD flat screen monitor.
Ah, right, yeah, I've just got a new one, picked a new one of them up, and mine looks really impressive on there. The only thing I will say to our listeners is that if you are thinking of a VGA cable, and to be honest, they're not cheap to say it's a cable. I've seen prices.
Yes, the Microsoft one.
I've been seeing prices around that are quite expensive. I haven't actually got the Microsoft one myself. I went down the cheapest at the time route, but what I will say to our listeners is, if you're thinking of getting a VGA cable, obviously check the connections in the back of your PC, and obviously be aware that it will take the same connection that your PC will be using. So you'll either have to buy a swap box, which are available, or you will have to hopefully have a monitor that's got a DVD-I connection as well, which you can go digital if you've got that. But also be aware the audio cables are separate and have to be connected separately, and that could also cause a problem, as it has caused in my setup, but I'm close to getting it sorted out. But yeah, although they are the best connection, I would say, to buy, be aware that you do have to have the correct connections, and especially the sound. Check it out before you buy, but it's well worth it.
Now, not having bought a cheap VGA cable, I actually do have the official 360 cable. You do get the attachments for the what you need in the actual with the cable, which is kind of handy. I don't know if you get that with the cheap ones. You get the thing to plug your audio wires into, so it makes it into one little jack that goes into your monitor.
No, I had to actually buy that separate as well. So yeah, me being a cheapskate hasn't paid off.
Sometimes it actually, believe it or not, folks, sometimes it does pay to actually buy the officially branded stuff. I know it's shocking. I know you might have to pick yourself up off the floor, but yeah, sometimes buying the official stuff can be better. But
we could also go back to yet another argument with Microsoft. Why isn't all this included in the box?
Also very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Very true.
Alright, as I said earlier before we carried on, I was going to tell you UK console prices. Now, this is off, these are off play.com, and this is of, what's the date today, Toz?
The date is the 11th.
Right, that's the 11th of August. Then this is off play.com, so feel free to check it out yourself. We have on play.com an Xbox 360 premium console for $279.99. That's no games.
No games. I can give you a quote.
But
go on.
A little way down the page, still available, is an Xbox 360 premium console and Forza 2 bundle.
I'm interested in this, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but go on.
For exactly the same price, $279.99.
Right, the reason that is probably then a bog standard price, because like I said, my relation phoned yesterday wanting a price check, and he had been quoted in Woolworths £280 for the premium with Forza, so it looks like it's a standard pack. Is there any prices on the core there, or aren't they selling the core?
I do not see a core system, but what else I do see, Xbox 360 Elite console. This is the UK. Yeah. This is pre-order. This comes out on the 24th of the 8th, 07.
So it is due out. It is due out in the next 2 weeks then.
According to this.
Right.
Bear in mind, dates may change.
Yep.
Its price is $300 So £329.99.
And that's for a bare system.
That is just the 360 Elite console. Bear in mind, this is the one with the 120 gig hard drive and the black paint job and the HDMI cables, which up in the air right now in the UK whether or not you need the HDMI.
Right. Well, I'm gonna open it up to our listeners now, and I think I told you this a few weeks ago, and you didn't know this, and I've got a feeling not a lot of our listeners will either. There are people aware that you can actually buy a separate special hard drive that connects to your Xbox via USB that will serve the exact same purpose as your Elite hard drive extension. Now, at this minute, as we all know, the price of that is a joke, and I'll be amazed now. If people in the UK buy this Elite, I'll be astounded, because one, they'll obviously, if they really want it, they'll only want it for the HDMI, which if they want to pay nearly £200 more later on, because we're going to get a price drop for the premium anyway. I mean, when all said and done, you could buy a core if you could find one for a very cheap price. Buy the hard drive extension that I've just mentioned, which is available on playasia.com if anybody's interested. That's the first place I saw it. Yes, I saw it on playasia.com site, and it is in China, but I have actually ordered items off of PlayAsia, and it's a very good site, and I have actually had things arrive from them that actually got here faster than a UK delivery. But yeah, there is a hard drive available to plug into the USB, which would just serve the same purpose. So therefore, why people will want to buy an Elite in the UK at the minute, well, I will be astounded if people buy it, because like I've said, I just can't understand it being that price, especially when we haven't had a price drop yet, especially now that we've heard the rumours, well, not rumours, we know it's official, that the USA are selling premiums with HDMI connection anyway. So, like I said earlier, you're basically buying you're paying for a black paint job. So,
well, sometimes that's just the way it goes. I also just want to point out, because I've just noticed this before I close my webpage, the Xbox 360 HD DVD drive on Play is £110.
Have we any news off we're getting a reduction on there? Because they've just had another reduction for that, haven't they, in America?
They have had some money knocked off that. I can't remember how much off the top of my head.
I think the price that was quoted, I think if I remember rightly, I think it was $129 now, but it comes with a 5 film pack, a 5 HD film pack, and if I remember rightly also, you had a choice from I think about 20 films as well, and some of them.
I thought it was about 13.
What?
Don't quote me on that.
I thought it was about 20, I think. Cause I heard my version on Major Nelson's podcast, because they really into this HD films over there. That's all they go on about. They never shut up about it, to be truthful. But I know for a fact that I would actually like to see that come down in price in this country. I think it could sell in this country, probably better than another console would.
It is the cheap option.
But do you think I don't think that's cheap for what it is. Or do you think it is cheap?
No. You're talking for a really good upscaling DVD player in this country. You're looking at paying over 200 odd quid. So maybe that is a cheap option to get the HD DVD. But the question is, do you want to get a HD? Sorry about this, folks. HD DVD player, or do you want to wait and get a BluRay player? Because the trouble is, the one thing that puts me off is the simple fact is we've got two competing formats going to war, like they did back in the 80s with
the Betamax and the VHS.
And VHS.
To be honest, it's ridiculous. It should not be happening. In today's day and age, it should not be happening. Either agree to sell both and make both compatible with each other's machines, which that is what they tried for at the beginning, but they just can't get on with anybody, Sony. So, and now the people that are suffering are the customers. We're sat here, and to be honest, I'm actually glad, because I bet Sony and the HD player from Microsoft, their sales must be pretty poor. Well, we know the PS3's pretty poor sales, and they was using the BluRay as the massive seller, weren't they? I mean, having it up in the air must really hold back on their sales, because like you've said, I would like a nice player to go with the new compatibility stuff, But at the minute, I'm not going to commit myself paying one or the other when 3 months down the line, one of them might say, oh no, we've lost the war, we've gone. And I'm stuck with an old Betamax player as we were in the 80s. It needs sorting out. I think it's a very poor show, to be honest, where the HD is concerned. But I would like to see the player come down in price. I do think it's a little overpriced for what it offers, especially, like I say, when it offers basically what could be a dead machine within months if they don't win the war. And it is a war, isn't it, at the minute, if we realise, because we're getting reports from America week in, week out, that 1 week it's Blockbusters going with Sony, the next week it's Walmart or something going with HD. They're all, although I did hear, slightly dodgy subject, but it's a very big subject where the money's concerned. I think the porn industry has actually finally decided to go with HD.
Actually, to correct you, God, I'm going to sound bad, but being a geek, I know these things. The porn industry is actually, I think, Vivid, which is the biggest.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Not the time. No, I don't know anything like that either.
Just face it. I look up the dodgy stuff, so you don't have to. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. But anyway, I believe Vivid has put out titles on both HD and Blu-ray.
That's what they should do. That's my point. I mean, at the beginning it was a war, wasn't it? They was all trying to get the porn industry's vote, because obviously we all know that it counts for a vast amount.
Now, if I remember my tech history correctly, wasn't it because porn went with VHS? Is why the VHS is that why that was why
that was actually regarded. Yeah, it was regarded in some technical circles that is what killed Betamax. And that's why I think it's being touted today as being such a big issue where the porn industry goes. But I know I did hear last week the porn industry slightly edged towards HD. But if you're saying that Vivid has gone with both, then I don't see a problem with that if they do go with both. But me personally, I wish Sony and the others had sorted it out, because the customers need it. I think the industry needs it also. I think it must be holding a lot back technological-wise regarding games. I mean, what's to say that we're not looking forward now to where games are either going to be coming out, obviously on Blu-ray, which they will be doing, they are doing, on the PS3, but where does it leave Microsoft at the minute? Obviously, they're going to still push their HD, which I think is going to be the next generation, isn't it? Their next machine's obviously going to have an HD player, but will it be worth having an HD player if the rest of the market is not going to be able to be, to work on the Xbox? So I just think it's another mess that needs sorting out.
Yes, unfortunately, it is one of those things. I was actually, believe it or not, folks, trying to look up the Vivid and actually tell you, but I can't actually having one of those problems where I can't find it.
I hope you've got your eyes closed looking at that.
Listen, folks, I make no shame for who and what I am, but I'll tell you where I actually learnt this nugget of great information. DL.TV. Patrick Norton and Robert Heron. So, I'm not that sad. Just a geek, which I guess kind of takes me out of one sad camp and puts me in the other, but I don't care. I know these things, so you don't have to. Oh dear, I have to quit. Shall we move away from the porn?
I think we best leave the porn in the gutter.
That's normally where you find it anyway. Okay, moving on. Let's head towards our topic of the week, and it's going to be a bit interesting seeing there's only two of us, and we've been given a kicking already. But we're going to talk about Sony and the PlayStation 3. Oh, joy of joys, yes. PS3 and Sony.
There are
paperweight or next-gen god.
They are actually starting to pick up in sales, aren't they? I mean, I must admit, and it's the first time something has caught my eye. The new downloadable game that's been released last week, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it did catch my eye, and it was the first game that did. Very similar to it's completely gone off my head. To the shooter on Xbox Live.
Aegis Wings?
No, the futuristic shooter.
Take your pick.
No, the flashy one, all nice, flashy lights, massive. It was in PGR3.
Oh, Geometry Wars.
That's it. The one that's competing with Geometry Wars on the PS3. In fact, I ought to look it up actually. But apparently that has taken the world by storm at the minute and is really having a lot of downloads on the PS3, and it's the first game that has caught my eye actually on the PS3. But I was actually hoping it was going to come to the Xbox, and I wanted to check it out actually to see if it was. It's made by an independent game maker that put it up for the Game of the Year show, where they all had the ruckus when the Columbine game got pulled, if you remember, some months back. They all had I read it online last week. It was a very good subject to be reading actually. It was a games awards show where independent game makers had put games forward, and this guy had put this game now, which actually has been bought by Sony, luckily by him. He pulled out as the judges pulled the Columbine shooter that some kid had made in his bedroom, and they basically said it was for the show is all about independent game makers apparently, and well anyway they pulled it, and then the rest of the game has pulled out, but luckily for this guy Sony picked up on it and they now have got it on a download. I'll have to find out the name and get back to you on that, but you will obviously our listeners out there that's got a Sony PS3 will know what I'm on about and probably are playing it, but it will be worth checking out.
I'm probably screaming it at their MP3 players and computers as we speak.
They are now. They're saying, look, it's this game. Yeah, I know it is. I apologise for not knowing, but yeah.
They're all wondering how we can both be so knowledgeable about porn but not about PS3 downloadable games.
That says everything, don't it? But going back on the main subject of the PS3, I do think it's picking up for the first time. I think they did, at the end of the E3 and onto the Tokyo show they did, and the Metal Gear Solid show they did. I think for the first time ever, it's looking like game-wise it's picking up. But as we all know, that it's still lagging a long way behind for me, and it's only one reason it's lagging behind. And I really don't think it'll pick up until the simple fact of life is that, honest to God, I think they need to knock £200 off it. I really do.
200 is still a lot of money.
It's ridiculous amount of money. For the average, you've got to realise these people Sony have simply got to realise that the average everyday man in the street has not got £500-600 to buy a games machine. It's an absolute joke, and there's no point sitting there saying, well, it's got BluRay and it's the next generation. It may well be, but people have not got, like we've already discussed earlier in the show, less than 5% of Britain's covered by HD, and if one of our listeners is right, less than 20% of America's covered in HD. So why are they saying, it's alright, they might be saying it's compatible for the next 10 years. Well, I'm afraid if they don't drop it and get it out there, it's going to carry on down the line where your games developers aren't going to want to develop for it no more. They're not going to want to chuck thousands of dollars at a game if they're only going to sell 200 copies of it. I think
it's a bit more than a few thousand.
We know, yeah, I know, it's just like, but you know what I mean? There's no denying we are gamers, and there is no denying that the Sony PS3, the games do look very, very good. I mean, the Metal Gear Solid trailer was truly outstanding, was top of probably anybody's list. The Ratchet and Clank, that looks really good as well. I mean, the scenes on that look good. The games look good. I thought MotorStorm looked good, but they bought the machine out at £600. Nobody bought it. Nobody bought it. They'd only got MotorStorm out for that at the time. I still think it's hanging on. People are saying they'll pull back. Well, will they? I don't know if they will.
Well, if we take a look at the landscape as it is at the minute, we essentially have three camps. We have your Xbox 360, you have your Nintendo Wii, and you have your PS3. Now, Xbox has had the huge advantage of being out first and having almost a year unchallenged. Now, they've gone through the first year, which we all know the first year of any game console life is usually quite Spartan because it's taking time to get the games out.
Yeah.
Xbox is now through the Spartan period and is now getting the games out. The Halo 3s, the Mass Effects, Call of Duty 4, and so on. Nintendo have got lucky because their console appeals to more than just the hardcore market, but it has made the hardcore market feel a bit left out. And again, they've had the problem, waiting for games. PS3 is also, is now getting through its barren period, and look, coming over the hill, Heavenly Sword, Metal Gear Solid 4, Ratchet and Clank, all them lot, they're going to come, and it's going to catch up. And once, I think, the consoles are through the sparse period, We are going to see, I think, Sony catch up, but the main issue is the price of the console.
Yeah,
the $600, £600 is too much for a console. I'm sorry, you can buy you can get a fairly decent PC for £600. I'm sorry, you can.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, it's the scores. The price of the machine is killing it dead. But what worries me is that you don't see anywhere where it's actually, where there is any news of. Well, there was the joke announcement before the E3 show that literally did more harm than good, as we all know. It was to shift the smaller version hard drives off the shelves, which is an appalling. In fact, I can't believe that somebody in Sony actually sat down and came up with that idea, because if the last thing Sony wanted at the minute was this kind of publicity, really, really ridiculous. I've actually, while we're talking, I am going to redeem myself and come back with the game I was talking about, and the game is Everyday Shooter, the one that's available on download at the minute on the PS3 marketplace as such. Well worth. Apparently, it's become the biggest seller on the machine at the minute. It's a very strange game, well worth checking out on any of the trailer sites that are around. But that was the first game I can honestly say caught my eye and got me thinking that, for the first time, I'd like to play that, and I'd like to play it on the Xbox. I think I did read somewhere, actually, it was supposed to come out on the Xbox, but it didn't.
As these things do sometimes go. And the other thing, one of the reasons I also think that Sony went with BluRay is not only to push the fact that, well, if you don't know, Sony owns the rights to BluRay, so anyone who uses BluRay, or B-Ray if you want to call it that, Sony gets a percentage of that rights, just like they do with the UMDs. Now, if you think back to the PS2 days, one of the reasons the PS2 was initially so popular was it was also a cheap DVD player. And I think they were trying to hopefully, have that initial success again with having the Blu-ray player.
Well, I think that's the plan.
The trouble is, it's not.
Yeah, that's the plan.
The trouble is, I just want to say this. The trouble is, there is not. The leap between VHS and DVD was quite huge. A really substantial leap in picture and sound quality. Whereas I tend to think, if you look at a Blu-ray and a DVD, especially with the upscaling DVD players that you can get nowadays, the leap isn't as big. So it's not going to tempt as much people. And I'm sorry, I don't see the fascination of watching a film where you can see the pores on people's faces. That's not very interesting to me. Maybe it's something like Transformers. The detail on the Transformers themselves, in a sense, would be interesting. But I'm into that kind of thing. I'm a photographer as my job, and I'm into design and stuff like that. That would be interesting to me, but I don't see that being as much interesting to people, everyday normal people who just want to sit and watch a movie.
I mean, to me, if the technology has moved on, you was right using that analogy from VHS to DVD. I mean, let's be quite honest here. There couldn't have been a person around the world that first saw a DVD playing on their own TV and was absolutely blown away by it. Now, I will actually be honest here. I have only seen HD TV running, and not very often, but I've seen it once, I think. Doesn't interest me purely because of the price at the minute. I think the prices, as we've spoke about earlier, are just way too much for the average man in the street. £1,000 for TVs and then monthly fees to get HD. But I will say, I see where you're coming from about saying the pores on the faces, do we need to see that kind of thing? When you see the Discovery Channel's HD and things like that, I think it is astounding. I actually do think it is good technology and you can notice a difference. But my feeling is that it doesn't warrant the price. If they were saying to me, the next jump from DVD is to HD or Blu-ray, and then yes, we'll go with it, as we always do. We always move on. That's the way technology goes. But if they're turning around to me and saying, here's the new technology, but it's £3,000 for you to have it in your living room, or they then turn around and say, here's the new technology, it's £100 to get in your living room, then you're going to be interested. I think it's way overpriced. Yes, it's good. Yes, it looks good. And yes, it's the future. But it's too overpriced at the minute, in my opinion, fully. And And I can't understand why these companies that have already got millions and billions of pounds already don't put the prices down now, so every day everybody can afford it. I've always had a firm belief, and I use this satellite TV in the UK as an analogy. Why charge £300 for a box and only have 5 people buy it when you could charge £10 for the box and have 5,000 people buy it? And I've never understood this. Yes, it's a business. Yes, it's to make money. But it always comes to this for me, is cost. Working class man in the street like us, we've got to look where his pennies come from. We've got families. We've got houses to keep. And such prices as Sony chucking £600 at a console that they're saying, yes, it's the best looking console. It may well be. But the average man in the street is not going to be able to afford that kind of money, and does need a massive price drop. And I don't mean a small one either. I'm talking below half price before it gets to the market, because without the price drop, you're only going to hit hardcore gamers, real hardcore, or hardcore movie buffs, and there aren't many of them about. It's the average man in the street you've got to sell it to, not the hardcore.
Hardcore movie buffs. Not me, honest guff. I just want to just make a quick comment on the HD stuff. As far as I know, the only 2 things that look very good in HD are, as you said, Discovery Channel, and sport. The sport is meant to look very good, whether it's football for us, the English football, or world football, not
soccer.
The S word.
Soccer.
Yes, spam. You've got a lot to answer for. There you go. First name drop of the show. All right, and I think the NFL. National Football League of America or whatever. I think they do their Monday night games in HD as well, and they're quite popular. But oh god, I lost my train of thought now. But that's not really enough to generate interest in people buying it. I mean, there's some. I know a lot of shows TV shows in America do come out in HD, but
it's the coverage though, isn't it? It's the price again.
Yeah, definitely the coverage and the price.
But
anyway, this is not a HD discussion. That's probably one for another
Sony,
week.
yeah.
It's Sony. And another thing that hasn't helped Sony was the lead up into this war. Well, I don't want to say war because anybody who believes this is a war is wrong. It isn't a war. Yes, they say, oh, we're fighting over this and the other, but it's 2 companies just trying to make a shed load of money, and they will sometimes help each other out.
I think it also. I think that kind of stuff goes on a lot more than people would believe as well. For too many people would probably think that it is an all-out war. They hate each other. We wouldn't sit in the room. It's not like that. There are a lot of big buddies together in them companies, and they do actually release games at these times so that the other one doesn't lose money. You don't see Sony releasing, say, a massive game on the same time as Halo 3 coming out.
Well, you're not going to see Sony release Metal Gear Solid 4 same day as Halo 3.
Yeah. And that will be done behind the scenes, way before it's released to the public. Definitely. A lot more of that goes off than people would think.
And again, back to when Sony were releasing the lead up into the PS3 360, people forget that they originally were saying no online, we're not doing online.
Yeah,
we've got online.
Yeah, they did. As we all know from previous shows, online is an essential now in gaming, and this is coming from me, who 6 months ago wouldn't have touched online if you'd have given it me for free. But even I can see now it's an essential with any console. That's why I think Nintendo will struggle in the long run as well.
That's why all those PC gamers out there are going, well, duh, we've been saying this for years, with Unreal Tournament and everything.
Yeah.
But yes, now it's hit the consoles, it is a necessity.
Yeah.
You can't get by without it. I know a lot of Nintendo people are now saying, well, we want a demo channel, which Nintendo are famously, they don't do demos, which is a shame. I think that would probably help.
Can I just interrupt you there? I have actually seen something online this week, changing the subject to Nintendo, and I don't know if you have seen it, and I'm glad you brought this up. Believe it or not, I have seen a video run last night that showed a Wii get a download from the shopping channel that was free. And do you know what the download was? It was a streaming set of movies for Metroid Prime. And it's showing you them download it, it's showing you them then click it and stream it from the internet onto their Wii, which showed a video not yet seen of Metroid Prime. It also had a few screenshots that downloaded with it. So I can tell you now that I've actually seen with my own eyes for the first time Nintendo actually give a free download on their system that was something different than they've offered before.
Well, unfortunately, I think that's still Nintendo playing catch-up, but
it is.
Nintendo was last week and not this week.
Yeah, it is, but just thought if our listeners hadn't seen that, go on the internet and check it out. It is there. It's to do with Metroid Prime being downloaded. Obviously, if you're a Wii owner, you've probably even downloaded it already.
The trouble is, now we'll head back to Sony again. The PS3 is still having to wait for its big AAA title games. Its price is still prohibitive. The BluRay thing, no one's still sure about. You know, you've got to be very convinced on one or the other's going to win on that market.
Do you think that this so-called war, as we've said, that between BluRay and HD for the Sony, do you think it will be sorted out? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Sooner or later, one of them will emerge as a winner.
But we're not seeing a winner at the minute yet, are we?
No, I cannot see two competing formats in that area. You know, it's not like PCs, it's not like games consoles. I cannot see two competing video formats staying a long time.
I mean,
I could be wrong.
I actually think it could work. I was just about to say, with you saying about the porn, saying that it, you know, they bought it out on both discs. Why not bring it out on both versions? I mean, okay, I know that in an ideal world we want one format. We want, say, DVD. I think they should have sorted it out when the big war started about 2 years back. What off the top of my head, we know it's Sony that do the BluRay. Is it Panasonic that do the HD? I can't remember who it is. It's one of the big firms, isn't it? That's who the war's with. That's what
it is. It is with one of them. I won't say it is Panasonic, and I won't say it
is one of the top others, like Panasonic or Philips or one of those. They own the rights to the HD format, and that's what the war was at the beginning. And it was very close to do it.
The way I think this HD BluRay war may go is you'll find that the HD DVD will probably win out for your DVD collection, your TV show collection, and I see BluRay being more useful for guys, professionals like me, who are a photographer who need to store massive amounts of data on a disc. And if once we're getting those 50 gig BluRay discs and burning speeds that don't take all night and all day.
Sorry to interrupt.
I think that would help
you. What is the actual capacity of both discs? Isn't there a vast difference?
I think, and again this is about looking and quoting, I believe a dual layer BluRay disc.
BluRay holds a lot more, don't they?
Is 50, and I think the most that a dual layer HD DVD, and if you know different, listeners, please email us in and tell us, is 25 gig, I believe. But again, I'm not sure without looking.
I thought the BluRay was about, you could get one to 200. What I'd read.
I'm not
sure. And I
sure.
thought the HD was 50. But like we say, we'll have to chat it up, and we'll come back on that probably next week.
Unfortunately, like some shows, it's just us two, and we have to do a lot of looking up, and sometimes we don't get to everything, folks.
Yeah,
so sometimes
as this show has been a rush
awkward.
because we're on our own this week, so we will research next week and do it properly.
We'll try anyway.
Yeah.
All right, seeing as time's getting on, is there anything else you want to say about Sony?
Not really. I mean, I think overall, coming back to the Sony and PS3, I think it's good for gaming if they do get back on the feet. They've got to get back on the feet because you can't have one company running away with things. As we all know, competition works for everybody. I'd like to see Sony come back. I just think it's been a bad marketing ploy from the off, which has surprised me from such a big company, and really throwing such a big lead away, if you can call it a lead. I mean, let's be honest, the PS2...
It was a big lead.
It was a massive lead. A massive lead. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them come back and be equal with Xbox and Nintendo. Let them all be equal. The only people that makes it good for is the customers. That's us. It doesn't do anybody any good. Like I say, competition. I hope the competition with Sony gets good. It makes Xbox Live free. That kind of thing. We need that kind of thing. We need the war. We need the battle. So yeah, I hope Sony get back on the feet. And the games for next year do look good. They just need to start getting them out. I've yet still now, I think we could go online and look at releases within the next few weeks and months. And is there a massive one coming out on the PS3?
Again, without looking, I couldn't say for sure.
But looking,
PS3 owners are probably again screaming at the iPods and
looking at the Xbox release date, we all know what releases are coming out on the Xbox in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I believe in 13 days in the UK we have BioShock hitting the shelves, which is a sleeper hit. Definitely.
Cannot wait for that, personally. Cannot wait. I will be picking that up, and it will be being played. Although, looking at it, I've got to say off the top of my head, it wasn't something that took me by surprise and made me want to really buy it, but it's just, I think it's good advertising that they've achieved, haven't they? Because they've really hammered the advertising. And let's
oh, definitely. From the first teaser video that they put out last year, I think maybe.
Yeah, it has.
It was a brilliant way of doing it.
Just, I hope it lives up to its reputation.
Most definitely. In closing, I just want to ask, if Microsoft's 360 wins this round of the console wars, do you see that as being a beneficial thing, stopping Sony winning 3 in a row, and maybe forcing them to rethink a little?
Like I've just said, I don't want to see one of them running outright. Like at the minute, if we want to be going down the sales route, Nintendo are wiping the floor. I mean, I don't see Nintendo as a competitor really. I mean, if truth be told, that we've played the Xbox regularly, we've seen what next gen looks like. I mean, if we're truthful, the Nintendo is way behind on that one, and I think Nintendo just have got their own niche at the minute, and everybody's happy in that corner. As regards Sony and Microsoft, I think they do need to be level, purely from a point like I've just said. It's good that Microsoft must be considering making Xbox Live free, or at least making changes, and that has only come about because the Sony PS3 version is free. Now, as an example, if it wasn't free or they didn't even have online, Microsoft could probably, as an example, put Xbox Live up to $100 a year, and people would have to pay it. Competition's needed in all forms of life. In all. That's why I don't see the HD competition such a bad thing. It makes the customers benefit in the long run. Customers need competition. They need the choices. So, as I say, I don't want one of them to win it outright. I want them to be level, and I want them to be batting off each other. I want one to come out with something that makes the other one sit back and think, wow, I've got to beat that. That's when customers win, when they're battling. Having one outright win is not good for the customer, I don't think.
Well, as most gamers will know, most console gamers will know, that normally there is usually one winner, whether it be back in the day being, the original fight being between Nintendo and Sega, and unfortunately what happened to Sega. There probably will be one winner. I can't see it being beneficial if either one wins, because unfortunately, if the PS3 wins, we are going to see the console prices skyrocket.
You've also,
charging.
You've also got to think though as well that we're not many years now off getting a new Xbox, and I think it's already, the rumour mill is even on the internet now talking that the lines have been drawn already for a new Xbox because we're so far in front of Sony now. So therefore, will we even get to that war between the PS3 and the 360? Probably not, because Sony are that far behind they might not even catch up. When, even if they get close, Microsoft will just probably pop out and say, here we are, here's our new 720, or whatever they're going to call it. But it's coming. There's no doubt it's coming. I don't think they will catch up, but I'd like to see them catch up.
Just on a side note, I would really like to place a bet at the bookies just on the fact that the next Xbox console will be called the 720. You gotta get some good odds on that.
I actually don't think it will. I mean, I think people are just using that, aren't they, as the next general step? Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'll be called the 720, but I do honestly believe it's already being done. Without question.
There's probably a nice little secret department somewhere already working out.
As is the new Nintendo.
Yeah, the Wii 2 war.
Yes, with let's bring it up to the next gen graphic wise, and I think that will be a next step. And I actually think when that does happen, I think it'll be sooner rather than later. And this is why my honest opinion, my personal opinion, is I think that's probably happening in the background now, and that's why you are still today not seeing Nintendo Wii's on the shelves. I think they're going to come out with a massive announcement probably within the next year to 18 months and say, here's the Nintendo Wii 2 and it's got so-and-so graphics chip, it's as good as the Xbox 360, but we've got the Wii remote. Now, imagine that scenario.
That is an interesting one, but that is we'll have to wait and see on that one. So I think we've pretty much closed it up on the Sony and the PS3. Okay, and we'll move on. So, Toz, do you have a rant of the week for us?
I do have a small little rant of the week as usual. And yes, here we go with this week's rant of the week. And again, it's to do with the Xbox. And it's to do with online achievement points, which I absolutely, from a personal point of view, detest. I think it's wrong. Simply because we've all got to realise, or Microsoft have got to realise, or the games manufacturers have, not everybody is connected to Xbox Live. We all know that the Xbox achievement points are a massive selling point now, and some would even go as far as to say that it's an essential. In fact, you don't see a game without achievement points now. I don't think I've ever seen one anyway. But my argument is this.
Actually...
Is there one?
It's actually written into contracts that all games will have achievement points. Retail discs will have 1,000 achievement points with an extra 250 achievement points for downloadable content, and I believe that the Xbox Live Arcade games have 200. A maximum of 200.
Yeah, well, this is my online rant now. This is my rant of the week. I hate the fact that games have online achievement points built in to the 1,000 achievement point score. It's wrong. As an example that got me thinking about this subject was my last game I finished, was The Darkness. And I actually think nearly half of the achievement points available for The Darkness was online. And as we know, The Darkness Online was severely bugged. I still don't think people are playing it today. I've not heard of a fix for it yet. The lag problems with that virtually killed the online dead. I think I played it twice. But you cannot have online achievement points to games. If you're going to have achievement points online, I would like to see it separate from the 1,000 point score. People buy games, they all know they're going to contain 1,000 points, and in my opinion, the game itself should contain it. Okay, let's have an online separate, let's make it 200, 300 separate. Do not make online achievement points intertwined with normal gameplay points. If you have got a thing where it's telling me 100% of Xbox owners are online, then yeah, I don't have a problem. But as we all know, and we all know well, it's nowhere near that kind of score. So in my opinion, I would just like to see Microsoft have a little change on the online achievement points. It's not fair really. We're paying full price for games and we're having half the points to most people not achievable. Not right. But anyway, that ends my rant of the week. More next week.
You know, I don't think we can ever be accused of being 360 fanboys here with the amount of kicking we give everyone. And if you read our iTunes review, I did say we favour none of the three big consoles because we all find fault with all of them, and that's why the show is called Cranky Gamers. And if you agree or disagree with us, you can contact us at the Cranky Gamers UK, all one word, the Cranky Gamers UK at googlemail.com. That's if you just want to insult us, why not? We're game for anything. We're thick-skinned, we can take it. Yeah. Toz is a Derby County fan, he's got to have a thick skin, and I'm a Forest fan, and God knows my skin.
You've got to have an even thicker skin.
Indeed I do. Alright, before we leave you, love you and leave you, this week I've just got a few more shout-outs to do. I want to give a shout-out to the Spams for starting this whole soccer ball thing. Spam, you know who you are, and I will pay you back later for this.
And I will beat him at golf within the very near future.
He hopes. And, oh yes, that reminds me. You remember last week, if you heard the show, we gave a shout out to a friend of ours called Falonzo, or Meat Shield. Now, a few weeks ago, me and him agreed to have a one-on-one Rainbow Six match. This is about 2 weeks ago, and he's been ducking me ever since. So, Falonzo, on my podcast, I am calling you out. I challenge you to 1 round, 20-minute deathmatch on Kill House on Rainbow Six Vegas. And if you win, I will announce it on this show. If I win, you've got to come on this show and say you lost. That's the deal, Falonzo. So what do you say? I am calling you out, Meat Shield. Bring it. All right, I think that wraps it up, and I think we've gone all over the place.
Just one more, if you forgot to announce it. We'd like to put out an open invitation to any of our listeners who would like to actually appear on one of our shows as a guest. Open invitation, just email to the address given earlier. Anybody's welcome, be it a gamer, be it a moaner, be it anything. Feel free, email us, include an MP3 file, sure, if you wish, so we can hear your voice, see how you sound. But yeah, an open invitation from us both. We're taking guest invites, and who knows, you could be on the next star of our podcast.
And also that invitation does And also that invitation does extend to fellow podcasters. So if our fellow podcasters would like to come on the show and have a moan if they can't on their show, you're absolutely welcome.
We would like greatly to have some of the more famous podcasters come and help us along with our little show and probably give us some tips on how it's done. Would be a great idea, yeah.
What Toz is hinting at there is he'd really, really, really like Natalie Souza to join the show, but I don't think you're going to get that.
You've got to edit that out.
Hell no. For anyone not realising this, I am a mean, mean person.
No, never.
As Falonzo is going to find out. All right, well, I want to thank Toz for joining me this week.
Yep, thank you all. Hope you enjoyed the podcast this week, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with at least one guest. Tune in next week.
Yes. Same time, same bad channel. This is your host, Kid Dog, saying, stay cranky.
Bye.
Hey there, this is your host Kid Dog back again with a little bit of an after show for you. I want to thank you all for listening to the show, with it just being me and Toz this week, and hopefully we may have some more guests next week. Like Toz said, if you'd like to come on the show, just drop us an email. Maybe send us an MP3, let us know what you sound like, and you can get in touch with us at crankygamersuk@gmail.com. That address again is crankygamersuk@gmail.com. And also, if you're surfing the World Wide Web, why not check out our friends over at weedspodcast.livejournal.com. They're good friends of ours, and you should go bother them for a little bit, seeing as we're a bit homeless at the minute. So visit our friends at weedspodcast.livejournal.com. Tell them Kid Dog sent you. All right, once again, thanks for listening. This is your host Kid Dog bidding you a fond farewell, and until next week, stay cranky.